Bienvenidos a una nueva entrevista de la serie La visión de los CEOs. Como sabéis, estos diálogos tienen como objetivo conocer el punto de vista, la visión, la perspectiva de un grupo de líderes de la industria auxiliar de recursos humanos que nos van a dar su visión sobre el futuro del trabajo, del desarrollo de las organizaciones y de la gestión de personas y el desarrollo del capital humano. Como sabéis, el objetivo de esto es compartir puntos de vista y tendremos un diálogo. Hoy tengo la fortuna de contar con nosotros y veréis que va a ser un diálogo sumamente interesante para todos vosotros con Adam Portlock. Hello, Alan.
Hola.
Hola, Alan.
Hola.
Bienvenido a este diálogo. Antes que nada, os voy a hacer una pequeña introducción del perfil, del currículum de Adam para que podáis situar quién es el profesional que tenemos delante. Adam es el presidente de RRHH, Executive Education. Tiene 3 décadas de experiencia global. Ha liderado con éxito organizaciones en Europa, Oriente Medio, Asia y América en sectores muy diversos, como el aprendizaje y desarrollo, el ámbito digital, aeroespacial, cadena de suministro y servicios profesionales. Además, cuenta con una exitosa trayectoria en el desarrollo de empresas de muy diverso tipo, desde empresas públicas, familiares, empresas financiadas con private equity y venture capital, incluyendo exitosas operaciones de fusiones y adquisiciones. Tiene una amplísima experiencia en estrategia, liderazgo operativo, ejecución de estrategias comerciales y gestión de la cuenta de resultados. Le apasiona la dinámica de los equipos de alto rendimiento, tanto en los deportes de élite como en el mundo empresarial, y ha publicado diversos trabajos sobre negocios, deportivos y patrocinios. Además, sobre su formación, Adam cuenta con un MBA en Harvard Business School y ha complementado con formación ejecutiva en Harvard Business School. Como veis, un perfil muy diverso, con una amplísima experiencia, con facetas muy diversas y amplias, que seguro que nos va a plantear una perspectiva muy interesante. Welcome, bienvenido, Adam.
Gracias.
Muchas gracias a ti por estar aquí con nosotros. Lideras una organización que es un referente internacional en formación ejecutiva. Así que, si te parece, vamos a empezar hablando de esto. Vamos a empezar hablando de aprendizaje y desarrollo. Desde tu visión y tu experiencia en un mundo del trabajo en constante cambio, como el que vivimos en estos momentos, ¿cuál crees que va a ser el futuro del aprendizaje y el desarrollo? ¿Cuál va a ser, hacia dónde vamos a ir? Y sobre todo, ¿qué estrategias pueden seguir las compañías para mantener a sus empleados actualizados y competitivos?
Yeah. Gracias, Juan Carlos. It's a very good question. We're living in very interesting times at the moment. There's geopolitical uncertainty, there's a rise of digital transformation and AI. But also, if you look at sort of what's happening with demographics, different age groups, and the working places, is changing dramatically. So all of that is leading to uncertainty and unpredictability. At Holt Ashridge, we believe that change is inevitable, but owning it is a choice. So how do we go about owning change and uncertainty? For us at Holt Ashridge, the ethos is the best way to do that is do it in a human-centered and experiential way. So what does that mean? So human-centered, first and foremost, organizations change through great leadership and great people. So to do that, we need to invest in our people. We need to put people at the heart of the process and help them engage with the change. Whatever technology helps and enhances that. And experiential, because people learn best by doing and experiencing. So, for example, we use a lot of heart variance monitors of a medical grade in our programs, and the evidence supports that by putting people under stress and emotion, that is the way they learn best and the experience, and they recall that and then put that into practice. So recreating those environments is the best way to do that. I think so. An interesting area to add as well is if you look at the world of elite sport or high performance in the arts or ballet or the military, we can learn lessons from those environments. Today's leaders are under so much pressure to sustain high performance over a long period of time, not just perform on one day, but over cycles, similar to an Olympic cycle or a football World Cup. So to understand what happens behind the scenes with rest, recovery, and understanding our people from that perspective for well-being, that's how we really use that research to bring from elite sport to business through our practice there and help teams continue to perform at the highest levels.
Indudablemente estamos en tiempos de una gran incertidumbre, sin duda es así. Y si algo lo está acrecentando en las últimas épocas y en los últimos meses, iba a decir años, pero realmente pocos meses, es la entrada, la irrupción brutal de la inteligencia artificial, especialmente de la inteligencia artificial generativa. En este entorno en el que además se están generando expectativas en algunos casos preocupantes por parte de muchas personas. ¿Cuál crees que debe ser el papel del liderazgo humano en estas situaciones, estos contextos?
That's great. Great question. I mean, the role of the human leader in a world of AI is evolving, but is probably just as equally as important as the AI itself. So when you think of the best leaders that you've worked with, and also some of the worst leaders that you've worked with, they've used both emotion but also data to try and understand how to make decisions and progress. I think when we look at that role of the human leader, it will be emboldened by AI. We can be braver. We can waste less time in terms of some of the data analysis. So how do we get to that point? Well, there's a couple of different things. First and foremost, we need to focus not on the technology, but on the business objectives. What are we trying to achieve as an organization? That hasn't changed in a world of AI. The objectives may change, but the business strategy stays the same. So we need to understand, first of all, what are we trying to create and how are we going to get there? Then we can use data and see what we can take the waste out the process by using AI and technology to give us that data, but also update our processes and cut inefficiencies from that perspective. The role of the human leader, therefore, is to make sure we've got the infrastructure in place. The data will be on a scale increasingly that we've never seen before. Therefore, we need to invest in the infrastructure and the data to make that data easily accessible. So we can use AI from that perspective. But then the emboldening bit for the leaders and for their employees is therefore how we use that data. And that is about updating skills, giving our people the skills to acknowledge the data and use it and keep them up to date and relevant. So it will always evolve and change over time. So we need to continue to invest in that. By doing that, we can enable our leaders to focus on what is most important, which is the growth of their business or growth of society, rather than worrying about what the actual AI is doing itself. Because if we focus on that today, it will have changed by tomorrow. So we need to be constantly evolving and make sure that the business imperatives are at the forefront.
Fíjate, estos contextos que describes es todavía más interesante y más importante, algo que es prioritario hoy en casi todas las compañías. Y sí está en la agenda de todos los directores de recursos humanos, que son los temas de la diversidad y la inclusión. En tu experiencia, con tu conocimiento y con tu visión, ¿qué pueden hacer las compañías para desarrollar una cultura inclusiva y diversa? Y por otro lado, que esto vinculando con lo que decías además ahora, ¿qué pueden hacer las compañías para medir el éxito de estas políticas?
Yeah. The world of DEIB, or diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, is at a very interesting time at the moment. You look at what's happening in the US and the Trump administration.
Yes.
It is challenging in terms of how an organization and how an individual has that perspective. Look, the agenda for DEIB is evolving. Whether that's linked to programs or titling or however we arrange it, the most fundamental thing is that diversity enhances an organization. Having not only different perspectives, but also having the psychological safety to be able to speak up in an environment and be heard. So whether we call it DEIB or call it something else, we need to have that diversity in the workplace. And that could be in terms of a demographic of gender or age or race or many other factors, but diversity makes an organization better. So for an organization at the moment where they're balancing those challenges under, for example, a US administration where you're thinking, well, I might lose this contract because of if we label things in a certain way, we need to move beyond the labeling element and find out what is most important for our people and for the organization. So an interesting piece of research we've recently seen from Hult International Business School from Professor Debbie Bainton-Lees looks at the area of equity, gender equity, and the role as a male in terms of how do I support my female colleagues to get real gender equity. And the research there shows how we can move from a position of apathy through ambivalence to reflection to actually motivation. And the research suggests that these can be skills that can be learnt like any other skill. So we're not in a fixed mindset. And by developing ourselves and having that awareness, we can take people through a process. So I'd encourage organizations to focus on employee engagement and diversity, and whether we label it as such is a choice for each organization. But that engagement and the psychological safety to speak up and support one another as human beings first and foremost is how you will get the best out of each business.
Fíjate, si vinculados además todo el tema del compromiso, ¿no?, que planteas, todo el desarrollo del talento de las compañías, nos encontramos en la actualidad, como sabes tú mejor que nadie, en un mercado laboral muy competitivo, en el que algunos hablan incluso de guerras por el talento, ¿no?, por el top talent, básicamente. En estos contextos en los que a veces no es fácil encontrar el talento adecuado para la compañía y tampoco es fácil conseguir que se quieran quedar en la compañía durante tiempo suficiente, ¿qué estrategias recomendarías, qué estrategias innovadoras podrías recomendar para que las empresas puedan atraer el talento que realmente necesitan y conseguir vincularlo?
Yeah. I mean, as we've been discussing, we're living in very interesting times, and you can either be scared about the future or embrace it. And the organizations that we're very proud to partner with are organizations who are taking the opportunity to invest further in their people as the differentiating factor. Yes, technology will evolve, markets will evolve, there'll be uncertainty in the world, but owning it, people can make the change within that. So we talk about investing in L&D, and for some organizations that will differ what that means. It could be a coaching intervention for a CEO. It could be some team coaching. It could be a full immersive leadership academy that an organization may set up. It will differ clearly. But the key message needs to be that it is sponsored from a very senior level within the organization and that you value investment in people. Great example is EY, so professional services firm with 400,000 employees globally. Mm-hmm. We've been very proud to partner with them for the last 5-6 years on developing a tech MBA. So what does that mean? Mm-hmm. So they're able to offer for free for their 400,000 employees an MBA from a triple accredited business school, which enables not only technical skills, but business skills, leadership skills, grounded in actual challenges, but supplemented by work on the job using their internal badges system and stackable qualifications. It's the only one in the world, but the reason it's so successful is that it's sponsored from very senior levels within EY. So driving that forward. The results for EY in that scenario is not only that you're getting improved performance, but the numbers in terms of retention as a recruitment, but also in terms of the general feel of the organization that you're being invested in. That is a great feeling within an organization, and EY is a great example of that as an innovator.
Es un verdadero placer escucharte, Adam. Estamos finalizando ya, tenemos que finalizar este diálogo. ¿Te gustaría comentar algo para finalizar?
Yeah, I think one of the most interesting areas is going back to the area of high performance. Increasingly, we're seeing in the world that change is here to stay. Change is inevitable. Owning it is a choice. And again, when you're thinking about elite performance, and particularly in that world of elite sport, where the environment changes every week. So, for example, we've done some research around the round-the-world sailing. They sail on clipper boats, which are 60, 70 feet long, and they go round the world in 11 months with a crew of a professional skipper and one first mate, and everybody else as enthusiastic amateurs. Now, when you're trying to sail around the world on a small boat in a small team of 20 of you, the environment is very unknown. You've got the weather, the sea, you've got the people, you've got illness, you've got food, you've got tight conditions, and learning from those research areas of how teams can keep that performance going. It's not when you and I are talking, it's about the things behind the scenes. It's how do you prepare, how do you keep your teams motivated? And as leaders, I think we can take great world knowledge from those examples of the round the world boat race and the elite sports business practice that we research and invest in, and then take that over to the workplace.
Sin duda, muy interesante todo lo que comentas, Adam. Ha sido un verdadero placer estar contigo, y seguro que nuestros escuchantes han disfrutado mucho, y los que nos están viendo han disfrutado mucho de tus palabras. Muchas gracias a todos vosotros también por escucharnos, y os esperamos en la próxima edición de la Visión de los CEOs. Mientras tanto, cuidaos mucho.